I do want to talk about, I think, a few really interesting Hebrew language insights from this chapter. We have a few words in here that are very rare, and I think it's very telling why these words are used. So we're going to hop to Genesis chapter 1 real quick. And Genesis 1, verse 2, we have two words of note. We have the word tohu and then the word merachefet. So tohu, translated so many ways in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, and it's been talked about quite endlessly about what does it mean. But this is the sentence in ESV that says the earth was without form and void. Robert Alter famously did tohu and vohu as wild and waste. But this is describing the state of the earth before God speaks and brings order in the Genesis 1 creation account. So that word tohu is used there. And then the other word we're looking at is merachefet. So the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. That word hovering and the earlier word before, both of those words only appear twice in the whole Torah. And guess where they appear? Genesis 1, verse 2, and in our song, Deuteronomy 32. So what does it say in Deuteronomy 32? It's in verse 10, and we have that God is describing part of his, to use your favorite word, Nathan, relationship with Israel. In the previous couple verses, he talks about how we might get into this more later, but how God is their father, how, he created them. Here in 32 verse 10 in Deuteronomy, we have, he found him, he being Yahweh found him, Israel, in a desert land and in the howling waste of the wilderness. That word waste is the same word as form in Genesis 1:2, tohu. In the howling waste of the wilderness. He encircled him. He cared for him. He kept him as the apple of his eye, like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that flutters over its young. That word for flutters is that same Hebrew verb that's hover in Genesis 1:2. Here it's the form yerachef. This is a verb, so it's conjugated. That flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, catching them, bearing them on its pinions. Okay, so basically we have two rare words that both only appear twice in the Torah, in a creation story and here in Deuteronomy 32. What's the point? This is clearly eliciting creation language. And Israel is being compared to, however you want to describe the status of the earth before God brings order. There's obviously a lot of metaphorical imagery here, because we get hovering over the face of the deep. So we have the word tohu often describes deserts, yet this deserty place is also really watery. But anyway, however you look at it, we have that the scene before God brings order and life to everything in Genesis, that's the same state that Israel was in before he got a hold of them. So we have a picture of God as this great, awesome creator who finds Israel in a state that was not at all conducive for them to have life or flourishing. And this is the people that he has chosen to be his own. So
excellent. Yeah.
So this will fit into our ongoing conversation, but that's enough to at least catch a couple Hebrew things that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. Again, I would love for everyone to compare. What does your translation? How does your favorite translation do Genesis 1:2 and Deuteronomy 32:10 through 11? How does it do those words? The ESV is what I have pulled up here. We have form and waste, hovering and flutters. If you're reading that in English, you would never have guessed it's the same Hebrew word.
Yeah.